He's one of the funniest people I know, and I certainly share his love of puns and wordplay. Um, uh, One of the things that I probably saw early on, and has certainly been confirmed now, is his generosity. He's one of the most generous people I know, in every way you can imagine, and in tangible ways as well as more intangible ways in terms of befriending people that may need it at the time, you know, and he gives a lot of himself, as I'm sure people have been talking about in this little doc that you're putting together. But his humor and certainly his generosity are two of the things that have always stood out. He brings two things. He brings energy, and he brings a sense of optimism that this can be done. And by his own personality and those traits, he convinces other people that it can be done too. And once you get enough momentum going, it can be done. I really think it's sort of that simple. But it is, I mean, there's no question. It's Grit's personality and his sense of there's a way to do this. We'll find a way to do this, you know. If the ladder's broken, we'll find another rung. We'll make another rung. I've got this lovely piece of rosewood. I'll make another rung for the ladder. You know, whatever. He's a fixer, and he knows how not to stop. Let's put it that way. And his sense of optimism and good humor is very attractive, and it attracts people, and people want to work with him. There's an annual event in Cannes, France called Midem, which is a huge music conference, and it's where, if you're trying to get your labels, CDs distributed in other territories, etc., it's the place you go and try and meet other people. And one year, we left from here in a taxi to go to the Toronto airport, and we got to the airport, and we got to the British Air ticket counter, and lo and behold, Grit had forgotten his passport. So, so he said, "Well, you go ahead, and I'll go home and get my passport and catch up to you." And so I went on through, and about an hour later, I got a call in the lounge, in the pre-boarding lounge, from Grit, and he said, I just got back to the British Air counter, and my passport has just run out of date. So he said, "You go on ahead, I'll catch up." So we were flying through London, and I flew to London overnight, as one does when one flies to Europe, and ended up the next day in Cannes, and was wondering when I would see Grit again, if ever, on this trip. And what had happened was he had gone back home, and he'd gotten up early, really early the next morning, found somewhere in Toronto that took pictures, passport pictures, at 7 o'clock in the morning. Where he found it, I have no idea. He was at the passport office at the minute they opened, and was given a passport on the spot while he waited, and was somehow able to convince British Air to honor his ticket from the day before. And literally, it seemed like about 18 hours after I'd got to Cannes, there was Grit with a brand new passport. Now, that takes a certain amount of chutzpah, and it takes a certain amount of creativity, and it takes a certain amount of just absolutely, I can do this.